Hello and welcome to the Player 2 Video Games Club. I'm your host, Paul James, and today I'm joined by Jay Parnas and Damo Camilleri. How are you, boys? No worries.
I'm good.
Digital. It's the lawnmower, man. Welcome back.
So,
Get in the Matrix.
Hacker man.
we're online
Ones
again.
and zeros.
We're online again. Some of the logistics around PAX have caused some dramas, so we're doing it via correspondence again. Jay, it was your game this month, and what did you select for us?
I selected CastleVania Symphony of the Night.
Oh, I've heard of that game.
Not to be mistaken with Sympathy of the Devil.
So tell us
It's
a little bit
pretty
about
light one.
your history with it and why you picked it.
Well, I actually came pretty late to playing it because I never had a PlayStation myself.
You
so
poor
the first
soul.
time that I really ever played it was... I had the GameCube, which I'm totally alright with. But anyway, moving forward. I first played it on the Xbox Live Arcade on the 360, but obviously my history lies very heavily in the MetroidVania game style through the numerous Metroid games that have come and gone. But prior to that, obviously, as well, I also played a whole bunch of the handheld Castlevania games, which were directly inspired by Symphony of the Night since it came first. So for all you out there who aren't aware, Symphony of the Night is actually the first in the series to do the Metroidvania thing, and then a lot of them after that proceeded to follow in that design standpoint. Whereas ones prior to that, Super Castlevania for the SNES, Castlevania 1, and to a lesser degree 2, were basically just side-scrolling platformers, same as Jack and Jack.
All right, fair enough. Well, we'll leave you to it because it's your line of questioning this month.
So what I was looking to ask is pretty similar to the question you just kind of posed to me, which was, what did you guys know about this game before actually trying it?
I didn't know a lot actually, so I'll shoot off first, Paul, if you don't mind.
I hear that's your
all
thing.
I knew was what you guys actually told. And well, Paul, you can have fun answering the next question first, then you can consider a prick. But yeah, no, all I knew was what you guys actually told me. Like, the basic, like, man, this is the Castlevania of Castlevania games. Like, it was like, mwah, it's Mickey Mouse. It's the one everyone talks about. So I knew there was hype and kind of love around the game, and that's about all I knew.
So you came in from kind of like the hype train angle.
Yeah, in a kind of a sense. Like I knew that it was like kind of like, if right now I hadn't seen Pulp Fiction, and it's kind of like, yeah, man, you haven't seen Pulp Fiction? Oh, dude, it's just like one of those must kind of watch movies. That's kind of how I felt about this. It was like, there's a lot of love. It's a bit of a cult classic, I guess.
And for all of you out there, Damo hasn't seen Pulp Fiction. So as far as my history with it is, I was fully aware of the resonance of the franchise. I know what impact it's had over the journey. And like Damo, I've known about the impact that it's had on the genre, but I hadn't actually played it. My Castlevania experience was purely rooted in... Oh, Damo's holding up a copy of Pulp Fiction for me. Blu-ray too, no less. My history with Castlevania was locked to two of the more recent entries in the franchise, Lords of Shadow, which I quite enjoyed, and then the horrifically bad Lords of Shadow 2.
Oh, no. Okay, well, that's interesting to know. That's coming from very, very, very different angles, all three of us, I guess. Which that kind of does lead me into the next question, which Paul kind of did answer. I was actually going to ask, what is your past experience with the Castlevania series as a whole? Like, do you guys have much of a history, or have you really delved into the series much before, outside of Lords of Shadow, for example? Because they're basically God of War.
Lords of Shadow for me only, and God of War is amazing. Lords of Shadow for me, and I've got, but I haven't watched the Netflix series.
Okay.
That I recently got Netflix. I'm ready to watch it. I just haven't done so yet. But in terms of the traditional games, no, I haven't been there yet.
Have you touched Super Castlevania 4 on your SNES Classic yet?
Mate, I haven't even fired up my Super Nintendo Classic yet. Oh, it's looking at me.
It's such a Paul thing to do.
Well, I got it, but then I didn't want. We're sidetracking for a second here, but I got it, and then I'm like, I'm not crawling up to the edge of the rug to sit that close to the TV to have to play this thing. So I bought some extension cords. They've now arrived, so I'm willing to play.
Fair enough.
So
you get a pass.
We're back on.
Your passing grade looks like. Damo?
I've played a couple of them on through emulation. What was it? Like CastleVania, like the first one, I think.
Oh yeah, the NES one.
Yeah, and then the sequel on and I know what. There's one on the Super Nintendo. I should have loaded up my Pi and had a look.
That'd be.
I got them there.
Super Castlevania 4.
Yes.
Maybe I played 1 and 2 and 4. I think I played 3.
Oh.
But yeah, I didn't ever get deep into them because it was like kind of one of those games. Like, see, Mega Man was fun enough for me to die in because it's Mega Man. Castlevania is not that fun for me to die in because it's like, like, I don't know. It's I guess, like, you know, with Mega Man, I had previous experience with, like, but this I didn't. And it's just, you kind of, like, you know, when you're playing an emulation, it's very easy to kind of, you know, try and run a perfect game and, you know, just screen, like, just save state, like, every couple of minutes when you pass something. So it kind of takes an edge off things, and yeah, I may have ruined it for myself thinking about it, but I don't know. It definitely didn't grip me. Those games anyway.
Fair enough. Well, moving on to this game, Symphony of the Night, since that's what we're here to talk about. What did you guys think of, first and foremost, the visuals? I want to highlight that because it's a game that was on a platform that was around at the time where 3D was coming in and making a big splash, but a lot of this game is extremely high detailed sprite work.
So you're right in what you said in terms of what was going on at the time. And despite the fact that, I mean, it's well known my love of some certain particular JRPGs on that platform, but visually, Symphony of the Night probably holds up better than most of them, and that's purely because of the particular art style. You know, a lot of PS1 and 64 games look horrifically dated when it comes to their visuals just because of the technical handicaps of the time, whereas the art style and that you can kind of express a little bit more in some ways with that 2D sprite work versus the then very early primitive 3D sprite polygons. You can get away with more, and as a result, the game, I think, holds up a lot better than many games that came out in that time. So I'm all for it. It looks great.
Yeah. So I wasn't opposed to it or anything. Like, just making sure before anyone writes a very angry tweet at me. I wasn't opposed to it or anything. I'd like, you know, when I was playing it, I was like, oh, this kind of looks a bit like Super Nintendo-y. And then, like, obviously, like, that was when I first started playing it. And then you start to look into things. And, you know, there's, like, after shadows from Alucard. And there's other, you know, there's, like, when the enemies die, you know, they're either bloody or they're exploding or they're crippling. And the more you see the game, the more you kind of go, oh, shit, like, this is a vast, vast game. Like, you know, in its art. And then even there's, like, a long ass hallway that you walk down, and if you actually look in the background, there's like a giant eye staring at you outside in the background. And I was like, and that's when I kind of turned around and went, oh shit! Like, this has even got some like kind of that cool like background, like that dynamic pixel kind of thing going on. You know, like kind of active backgrounds that, you know, it's not just like like pixels, just, you know, trees moving with like a pixel to the left, to the right. as the leaves. That actually had some kind of cool things going on in it.
I like scrolling and shit like that in there.
And just those 3D, there's a few of those 3D cutscenes when the castle flips upside down and all that sort of stuff. And even they don't look too bad. I mean, I've certainly seen far worse from that era.
Yeah, actually.
It still holds up okay. And I guess it's because they're not trying to do anything particularly flamboyant. It's a castle. It's by nature, it's kind of blocky. So I know. Well, I guess what they're animating in those particular scenes lends itself well to the constraints of the technology back then.
There are also just some backgrounds that do actually have 3D stuff in the background. Like there is one. It's actually the first part of the game where you start as Richter, where the clock tower actually rotates in the background, if you recall that part.
Oh, shit.
Going up that bridge. Does that ring a bell for you guys? I know Paul's going to edit in a little bit of snippet of that in post.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I don't recall much of Richter. I spent a bit of time in this game, so Richter happens very not very quickly, but it's just kind of it's there, and I guess especially when I've been thrown into a game that I've never played before, it's kind of hard to pick up on things like that. But now that you say that, I actually kind of want to go back and have a gander at that because that sounds amazing.
Sure, I do actually have some stuff about that a little later that we will touch on as well. But it does actually, I did want to lead into just a quick sort of side question. What did you guys think of the actual start of the game where you do play as Richter, if you can recall it, that is, because that actual scene is how the previous game in the series, Rondo of Blood, leaves off. That's actually the final fight against Dracula at the end of that game.
So
that's cool.
So yeah. I had that knowledge purely because of a Let's Play that I'd seen in the past.
Right.
The legend that is Colin Moriarty did one of those back in the day, and that's one of the things that I remember from that particular podcast, that there was kind of that crossover between the two games. So it didn't catch me by surprise, but at the same time, it's a cool sort of narrative approach. The perhaps didn't resonate with me as much because A, I knew what it was when I started, and also B, I hadn't played Rondo of Blood or any other Castlevania prior to Symphony of the Night.
Damo?
What?
What did you think of the opening, if you can recall?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I got distracted with Paul's Colin Moriarty thing I was going through. I'm like, man. But, yeah, it was kind of really cool. It would kind of be like being thrown into a game. I mean, not many games do it, but you're thrown in, you're OP as fuck, and then you're wow, and then it's and now you're weak. But that was different because it's playing, the second, a sec protagonist almost, I don't know. It's just kind of a really cool feature that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I thought, oh, this is really cool. This is the guy we're going to play, or he's probably going to have his powers sucked, or he's going to be an old man, and we're going to be his son or something like that. Being the Belmont family, they're all the Belmont family. So I was we'll be his grandkid or something like that, and it was oh, but I also didn't know that was all interconnected. That's kind of cool.
A couple of interesting little facts that I'll touch on that a little later, that both of you may or may not be aware of. So, and for anyone obviously listening / watching, but to move on to the sort of game design, because as you know, that's sort of where my heart lies. We actually played Super Metroid a couple of months back. Did you feel the similarities in the formula between the two games after playing it or during playing it?
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that the MetroidVania name came together. Shortly after, I guess, those two games came out. Because you can see the crossover, you can see the commonalities in both, and then you can kind of see how they've influenced one another in every release. In every release that's come since. Sorry, Damo, to interrupt there.
No, that's fine.
So go for it.
Yeah, no, I definitely saw it because I super heavily relied on that map. like kind of going, oh, look, there's a space there that I haven't, fully looked through and things like that. And you can't, the very thing I did during, Super Metroid, and it was kind of like, and even like, the jumping around, like the level, the world layout almost has a very thing.
Yeah, like where you can you'll jump and you're like, oh, I just can't get up to that platform, that type of stuff.
Yeah,
but I might be able to get there later.
Oh, I gotta take note of that. Yeah, there's all of that through the whole game. You just definitely need something to get there.
Did it give you a bit of that same drive as well? That same I want that, I want whatever that is.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was do a heap of things. There's a room that's you go through it and it's completely dark, and then you try and move into it. It's oh, you're getting killed by the darkness. And then I thought you had to throw things in there, and apparently you could use the bat because there's spikes in the floor.
Yes.
And you got to fly through it. It was oh, that's cool as even missed trying to miss, but then I didn't think I was going to be able to make it because there's things that I couldn't see, and it's it made me. It does. It gives you that drive. You're man, if there's so much effort to be put into this, it's going to be maybe not even a cool reward, but there's a reward, and that sometimes I think games like this do a really good job of just sometimes the reward may not be a gamma ray cannon or some bullshit like that that breaks the game. Sometimes it's just it's just some life, and to you it's yeah, fuck man, I worked hard for that life, and I'm gonna that's good enough for me.
I'm gonna lose it with honor.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, outside of the Metrovania concept specifically, what did you think of the other game systems like familiars and spells?
I guess. Look, I don't have the widest knowledge, I suppose, of the Metroidvania genre, but there's plenty I know about just different spells and all those sorts of things in gaming. And look, I guess it's hard for me as someone who didn't play it back in the day, not even close to the day, but having experienced similar systems in games since, I'm trying to work out, I can't quite work out what my take is on it, on both of those systems.
Sure.
And not because it's necessarily bad or good or bad, it's just the perspective that I have when it comes to approaching this game that leaves me unsure as to where, what my take is, at least at present.
Okay. Can I ask just two clarifying questions? Firstly, did you find the merchant in the library?
Yeah.
The merchant in the library.
The shopkeeper, basically.
Oh yeah, you get the library cards or something like that.
Yeah, and you can teleport there.
Yeah.
Were you aware that you can basically, you don't have to boss yourself? You can just do if you know them? They're literally they're like Street Fighter commands, which is half circles, quarter circles, up, downs, charges.
Oh, really?
And then attack.
Yeah, okay. Not a clue.
Really? Probably would have made some things easier.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me on to my next question. Did you manage to find all of the power-ups or the greater majority of power-ups and the familiars themselves? Did you guys find many of the little helper characters and did you get to purchase or figure out even any of the spells in the game?
Did I get the majority of them? Not even close. And that's, you know what I'm like when it comes to these sort of games. I was proud of myself that I got, I'm not sure about the pronunciation. The Chrysogrim or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know how you...
Wow, yeah, okay.
I got that.
Daygrim.
And that's real OP. Well,
Yeah,
maybe not OP, but
it's
certainly packs a punch.
No, it's OP. No, that's I win the game OP. Yeah.
It certainly made the back end of the game.
What's that?
A little easier.
What was the vague? Vagrim. What's Vagrim?
Chrysogrim?
It's a sword that basically you slash like it kind of looks like a Wi-Fi symbol almost. It's basically
Okay.
strips of like sonic slashes, and you attack basically constantly, and so you can kind of just run forward with holding the attack button down, and you just kill basically everything. And it's at end game power. That's crazy.
Because I think it's dropped by the shmoos or whatever, however you pronounce them.
Yes, in the
Man, some of these names, that sword, that gave me some headaches, but the name of it, I mean.
Did you find
Sorry, did I find
any of the familiars?
Look,
Things that follow you around.
Yeah, like a couple of them, like some of the simple ones, the bat and whatnot. But
I had.
Damo, tell me about
Yeah. Okay, so because Paul sucks, obviously.
Well, there's only what, like
I didn't
4 or 5 of them.
I'm sure I can find everything.
Was there 5? Was that
Paul,
about right?
don't make excuses, okay? You sucked. You didn't find them all. You suck. Just admit it, Paul.
I'll own it.
Mr. Trophy Hoard. There was no trophies involved, so I didn't bother to do it all.
That's the one.
God, you suck. But anyway, I only found 2, so I suck just as much. But I openly admit it. I don't try and cover it up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No. Anyway, no. We're all semi good players. But no, I found the fairy thing that like cures your status alignments.
Yeah, she uses your potions and stuff. She gives them to you.
Yeah. Oh, does she? What a bitch. I think I got rid of her pretty quick because I found like a devil thing, like a flying devil thing.
Yeah.
And I think I found a bat or something. Was it a bat?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I got the bat.
Yeah.
There's a fairy.
Apparently.
An imp. There's a ghost.
And a sword.
Ghost.
A living sword.
A sword. What's the sword do? It's like Aggie Slash?
So he flies around and does like a 360 slash. So he slashes in like a full 360 crescent.
Yeah.
That makes but then he also has his own magic spell. And once he levels to level 50, you can equip him as a weapon. And he's the strongest weapon in the game. And once he levels past level 70, he just flies through people and hits them 3 times. And he can kill endgame enemies on his own.
No messing around.
Well, coming to spells, I don't know how many spells I found, but I did do something accidental at one stage. I was trying to.
Yep, that happened.
I was trying to get somewhere, and I don't know what the spell's called. There's a couple of like about a week or so ago.
Oh.
I went red, like I glue red.
Yep.
And he says something.
Dark Metamorphosis.
That's the one.
Yep.
Yeah. I did that.
That basically means that when you use that, if you kill anyone,
it restores your health, right?
You gain health from it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh. So I have to kill an enemy that's... Wait, did you say covered in blood or bleeds?
Bleed. When they've got blood in their killing animation.
Oh, okay. Like, because I thought, I was glowing red. Like, I thought like it was regenerating health or something, and nothing was happening. I was like, okay. Plus, I also didn't know how the fuck I did it. So,
it once you do it once, it goes into your spells menu in your pause menu.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
Should probably check that shit.
Yeah, it's probably the best. It's also extremely expensive. It costs 50 MP, but if you push forward, back, and then do a half circle to forward, and then push backwards again, and then attack, you'll do Soul Steal, which hits everyone on screen and gives you life.
It disturbs me how you can rattle off that combo just off the top of your head.
Combo
breaker. I have them effectively memorized, so don't worry about it. But the question I wanted to sort of lead into with all these sort of very specific, like, what did you find? How was your experience? That type of stuff. Is, did you guys fly free or did you use a guide for help?
I went pretty free
Yeah.
until I got to the reverse castle, and then I used a guide to kind of not to go, okay, there's this item here and there's this item here. Kind of more of a where the hell do I
Where
have
am I
to
going?
go? It's like, where should I be? Yeah, that's it. I'd say a guide, like a tour guide that gives you, a direction. It doesn't, tell you everything.
This game, to be fair, tells you very little. There are a lot of and drops that also, in the same way as the spells, they've got their own unique special abilities. Like, for example, there's a fist weapon that if you do a quarter circle forward and or quarter circle in any direction, like left or right, and then push the attack button, you'll actually just shoot a fireball as if it's fucking Street Fighter.
Hadouken?
And that's very specific to if you've got this weapon equipped. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of that sort of stuff. The game doesn't really do a great job of telling any of that, but I guess part of it's also hidden. Now,
I mean,
modern game, it would basically tutorial everything like that.
Yeah, but I think there's an art to that approach, as in not just hand-holding you the entire way. Like, there's a lot of games I play that, like you said, tutorialize everything. And I'm talking about modern games that tutorialize everything. They hand-hold you every step of the way.
Mega Man.
So it's nice to play games every now and then, whether they're old or new, that lets you work. You're a big boy or girl, work it out yourself.
So,
whilst not being
with
unreasonable.
that in mind, and also the fact that you guys flew free and didn't really use a guide to sort of get around, or you happened to get a really cool rare drop by accident. You didn't go farming for it. How did you find the difficulty of the game as a whole? Both as a MetroidVania, a platformer, and also almost like a character action game, I guess.
Well, we spoke
it
about...
wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Paul.
No, go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Coming from the previous CastleVania games being like, oh, so goddamn annoying. Like, this, you could take quite a few hits. I mean, playing as Alucard. Yes, Alucard. Yes, and it just, it's kind of like one of those weird things where, you feel strong, but you don't feel OP, I guess.
Until you've got
feel
the
you feel like a couple of hits. You're not a glass cannon, pretty much. Yeah, that's a good term. Yeah, you're not a glass cannon. You're you made a tin, but
you're a video game character.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, I thought the challenge was about right, and then certainly once I got the Crystal Grim, or how the bloody hell we pronounce that thing that we spoke about before, the insta-win.
The Fnurgadurgan. Insta-win.
It certainly made things a hell of a lot easier. But
there are lots, but that's the thing. There are actually lots of insta-wins in that game. Like, the combination that I used, very much different to the one that you used, but I could beat the final boss in less than 3 seconds, more or less.
Not messing around.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's kind of a game where all of that and there are many different to-win buttons, but I guess by that point in the game, you've probably earned it, I feel, in my personal opinion. Because there's definitely a slog there for a period of time where it's like a couple of hits, and if you've gone a long time between save rooms, you might lose a bunch of progress.
Yeah.
Oh, save rooms healing you, that was my bread and butter right there.
Yeah, unlike Metroid, yes, that is real nice. Well, now I kind of wanted to have a bit of a chat about the post-game content, because I'm not too sure if you guys are aware. Once you finish the game, as Alucard, you actually can play through the whole game as Richter.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. He can't get any of he can't get most of the power ups. But he has a few abilities built in. And basically he can use some different sub weapons, and he's kind of got some of his jump mobility stuff by default. But yeah, and then I think if you beat it as him, you can play as Maria after that, who's the chick with the spells.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's that. Would you play this game again? Whether it be as Alucard or Richter?
Time providing.
If I had, I was gonna say if I had downtime, it's definitely something I could return to.
Would you go back to the well? Is basically what I'm saying. Not if you are cramped for time and have to play every other game that's coming out. Like if you had all the time in the world, would you? Go back
definitely.
To the game you finished.
Yeah, absolute heartbeat. I'd go back to. I'd try and 100% it.
Awesome. That's
it was a very fun game. Like, it kind of had that Super Metroid feel that we were saying before, and it just makes you want to play it again. Like if I had a DS, if it was like out on a new 3DS or something like that, I'd be probably buying it now and playing the shit out of it. But it's that access to it that's kind of a pain, really.
Yeah, it does have weird access restrictions, which is unfortunate. What about you, Paul? Would you go back to the well?
I would, and it's probably a bit easier for me to do so. I played it on the Vita.
Sure.
Just via the PS1 classics they make available there. God bless the PlayStation Vita. Also, rest in peace, PlayStation Vita. Look, like we said, it'd be time providing, but if I had that time available to me, I'd go to finish that off. Probably wouldn't see myself 100%ing it like Damo, but at the same time, would be interested to try that second playthrough, new characters, all that sort of stuff.
And just to touch on the intro part with Alucard earlier, since I did mention that, since we are sort of talking about Richter and stuff. Depending on how you actually finish that first fight with Dracula, your stats will be different at the start of the game. So
okay,
that is something.
That's a cool little effect.
You'll start with like a container. If you finish it without any support, you'll get health, like a health upgrade or a power upgrade. So it can actually affect that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I guess normally towards the end of these, I guess we would sort of have the cliche question of, do you want a sequel? But I guess there are plenty of games these days in the same vein. And obviously we've also got Bloodstained that's coming on the way from, Iga himself.
You mean in the same Vania, right?
Oh, no. Moving on from that, I also wanted to give out a special mention to the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo DS games that are there, like the Metroid Fusion, Metroid Zero, plus there's like 3 CastleVania games on both the Game Boy Advance and the DS.
Dawn of Sorrow, Aria of something.
Aria of Sorrow, Aria of Dawn, Portrait of Ruin, Order of Ecclesia, Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and I think that's 6.
Well, I was pretty happy being able to recite one of them. Thanks, mate.
In case you hadn't guessed, I really like these games. And they're all really, really tight games. But having played, I guess, both halves of, I guess, the magical combination that is the Metroidvania, do you think the spirit of these types of games, like Metroidvania games specifically, is an important game type? And as an additional question, where do you think it can go next? Do you think that stuff like roguelikes and procedural generation, sort of like what's happening in the indie scene at the moment, is the way to go? Or do you think that the more handcrafted experience like a Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, or a Super Metroid is more the way to go?
So, my take on this whole thing. Procedural generation is a cool gimmick, but is no substitute for handcrafted stuff. The games in recent years that are in similar genre that have had the greatest impact have been Shovel Knight or In the Blind Forest. Both deliberately designed, not procedurally generated.
I wouldn't really call Shovel Knight Metroidvania, though.
It still draws on some of those aspects. You're right, it's not. But it draws on some of those elements.
But then there are also games like Dead Cells, for example, which does have procedural generation and
cool game
aspects.
Cool game, don't get me wrong. But
Metroidvania aspects as well. So, there are definitely good examples of both, is all I'm saying.
There are good examples of both. But and that certainly, I'm not going to dispute that. Like, there are some really cool procedurally generated games. We're all fans, I think all three of us are, of Enter the Gungeon, for example. Really cool, procedurally generated. Not the same genre, but like procedurally generated, really cool premise, works really well, have a lot of fun with it. But people don't, and myself personally, but I feel like I'm speaking on behalf of at least a few here, don't cling on to those procedurally generated experiences nearly as much as we would with one that has been handcrafted, planned out, like your CastleVanias, like your Metroids, like Shovel Knight, like Ori and the Blind Forest, etc.
And the Metroidvania concept as a whole, do you think it's important to video games?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we did SteamWorld Dig in the past, and I know you personally, you weren't a massive fan of it, but I love it. It was a great entryway for me into that genre because I hadn't played many of them before that. I lapped up the second one, and it really lent much harder into the Metroidvania aspects.
Yeah, I've heard that.
To the point where I basically played the entire game in a single 10-hour session.
Do you think it's as important an archetype as, say, a JRPG, for example?
No, definitely not. JRPG is the best thing ever. But
as important.
Yeah. All jokes aside, yeah, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a place for everything. Be it JRPGs, first-person shooters, Metroidvanias, or even sports games.
Right, but
you like sports, you don't care who knows.
But what I'm more sort of leaning towards is like now that you're, I guess, versed in basically the two main pillars that make up the name. Do you see it in a new light, or do you see its importance in a new light?
Certainly gives me a greater understanding of the mechanics, the concepts that were refined and perhaps even introduced via particular Castlevania or Metroid games.
What about you, Damo? What do you reckon?
I think it's a very important element for games that kind of want to. I don't know. So if you put it on you put a Metroidvania on a 3D platform. Say Doom had a more Metroidvania feel, you know. And I know that's such a weird thing to put into it, but imagine not Doom. Actually, yeah, no, fuck it, we'll go with Doom. It'd be kind of cool, it's you actually couldn't get there because you were missing this upgrade or something like that, and you know, maybe it was armor upgrade or something like that to get through a biohazard field or something. You know, there's this cool element of exploring a world, but then wanting to explore it more because there's things that are holding you back. But putting it blindly in your face is so much better than having it kind of a secret-y kind of thing. Because, you know, I mean, not that you're able to see the map all the time and you have that kind of concept of, you know, where everything is all the time, unless you just got one of those photographic memories. But, you know, having those elements of Metroidvania is really cool. I mean, put it to the Metroid Fusion games. You know, they just weren't as Metroid-y as, you know, I like my Metroid games. You know, there's obviously those feelings of it, but I don't know, it was missing stuff that I think makes a Metroidvania fun. And it's not the fact that it's, you know, went from 2D to 3D or anything like that. It's just that think, a Metroidvania has that grip on you of, that especially the map. Yeah, the map, exploring the map, having it there, and I know that's been very hard to pull off in a new game,
Just
new
to clarify,
day.
were you saying the Fusion games or the Metroid Prime games?
Fusion.
Prime.
Prime, right? So the first one.
Yeah, the
Right.
Prime
No,
games.
I'm with you. I get what you mean. Sorry, I'm like, did you mean the really good
Yeah.
one on the Game Boy Advance or those other ones?
Oh man, Fusion's amazing. Yeah, sorry, all you Metroid fans out there that it's thing. Sorry, JRP, did not mean to insult your game of choice. No, yeah, it's just kind of.
They do have those elements, but
Yeah,
it's, I don't know. I would probably prefer it to be a third person because I feel like, for me personally, Metroid games are very much orientated around spacing and platforming because a lot of them are very integral to Samus herself, and to a lesser degree, Alucard. Alucard's more like, shape-shifting and stuff like that, and a lot of the stuff in Castlevania, they're more offensive abilities, where in Metroid they're more like, like the various suit can get you into lava places, and gravity suit can get you underwater, and it's more environmental.
Horses for courses.
I don't think first-person games ever really do platforming as good as basically anything else. So if they did maybe a third, I could probably enjoy that. But I don't think that first person's the greatest way to go. But that's again, especially one.
I think that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Like having the environment versus the protagonist is a big part of a Metroidvania in a sense, like the platforming and things.
Yeah, Metroid's more about isolation, whereas Castlevania is more about the fight against evil. So it makes sense that in a game about isolation, you're going to be having abilities that are more related to your environment, whereas in a game that's in a fight against evil, you're going to have more abilities that are a little bit more, power orientated.
Yeah.
So that definitely makes sense. But the last sort of, again, I guess this kind of tails on to that question is, again, sort of touching on the whole concept of Metroidvania. Do you guys see, I guess, the cultural impact of, basically the two pillars, which is, I guess, Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night? Do you kind of see the cultural impact of where this is kind of, like where these land, I guess, and how they've kind of been revered and referenced in games since?
Yeah, look, I mean, I was kind of aware of that, I guess, just because of how closely I kind of follow the industry and whatnot. I was kind of aware of the impact they'd had, despite until playing Super Metroid for the first time, was a few months back when we did the Games Club. And this time around with Symphony Night, I already knew the impact that they had made, regardless of the fact that I hadn't played into that point. But it was good to experience it firsthand.
Does playing it give you a different point of view on that?
No, it just makes me just gives me that understanding of what people were talking about. It kind of, I can now actually link the comments to the things that I've seen and experienced myself. And I certainly don't dispute any of those things that have been said about it in the past.
And Damo?
You repeat the question?
Yeah, it's like, now that you've kind of played the two, pillars of the itself, do you see the cultural impact?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I get, probably from a different standpoint from Paul, because I don't follow the industry as religiously, but, I see, when I watch some, awesome games done quick, or, just speed run, charity runs and things like that, there's always just huge crowds out there for Metroidvania kind of games, because I just think, people just must appreciate the shit, you're doing such a fine line to such a game that, people spend hours in exploring and things like that. So you kind of see that love and appreciation for that game, all those games. Sorry, yeah. What was that, sorry?
Concept of sequence breaking as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I kind of had a feel of how to play Super Metroid, but this one, it's like I didn't know there was a sequence. So I don't know if I did it in the right order or what, but God, it was good.
So yeah, I guess that's final thoughts. Like, did you love it? Was it amazing?
I'm gonna be 110% honest with you. I was so skeptic walking into this game. I was like, Jay's never let me down so far. Like, he's lots of good picks. I'm like Paul in his Steam World game.
Piss off.
Joking, Paul. It's pretty cool. It's okay. It's okay. Relax.
I nearly shut this podcast down.
Like, having played the previous CastleVania games, I was like, oh, like I know everyone raves about this one, but I mean, how much better can it be than its predecessors? And it was like,
that much better.
Shit! Wow! Like Owen Wilson was just like going wow in my ear for like a good 20 minutes. It was amazing. It was a really fun-filled game. Like the exploration, just Alucard as a character, the equipping of items and things, like the changes that they made, the enemy design. There's heaps of kind of cool like enemies. There's like a scorpion thing that comes at you, and you hit it and it backs up on itself, and it's like, okay. And the fact that in this one you can actually take a hit where you're not just like on 3 hearts or something like that, and you're like, oh fuck, like it's not as pattern red as I thought it was going to be. Like, sure, there's still some challenging things that happen. The save rooms, leveling up too. Leveling's really cool feature. Final thoughts. I think there's some very nice elements, and I do believe the game came together very well. So yeah, Paul.
Viewers cannot see it right now, but my thumb is up. I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
I can't see it right.
I had 2 thumbs now. The game has given me a far greater understanding and appreciation for the genre, the impact of said game, and I'm glad I've had the opportunity to now play it. I think that's kind of my take in a nutshell.
Can't really ask for more than that. Do you wish you had a back Bloodstain now, in hindsight?
I think I did. Yeah, no, I did. I did back it. So we're good.
Awesome. Well, I guess now extra to look forward to, I guess. But that's pretty much all the questions I had. I mean, for me personally, I find it it's a great game to have a romp through, because like it's got, and I don't know, like 12 file slots or something ridiculous like that. It's got a false ending in the middle of the game. It's got so many different pickups. The loot dropping is a little rough. Like the percentage drop chance is extremely rough for some of the really good shit, which is a bit of a pain. But outside of that, I think having all the different items and like just tiny little stuff, like there's like the secret boots that like they're literally designed to be platform boots, so they actually increase your sprite by 1 pixel. Like little joke shit like that, or stuff like where if you equip a different cape, it will actually change your color, and it will also change the color of what you're like in bat form, and just all sorts of really cool little touches like that. I think for me personally, it's a game that is very Japanese in the sense that it rewards its fans while still being a really fucking tight game. Like, for anyone that's enjoying their playthrough and is like observing it and replaying it, like you'll just see more shit every time you play it, and it's so self-referential. It's really cool, and it's great just to sit down, jump in, have a playthrough. Whether you sequence break, whether you don't, like you can kind of just start smashing through shit. You know where the cool stuff is. You go straight there, pick it up, kick some ass, and then just have a bit of an explore. Like it's great to come back to. Especially if you've got a really bad memory, because it's kind of like you get to have the same experience over and over again. So yeah, I obviously love it. That's the reason I picked it. But yeah, I'm glad you guys loved it. Paul, it's I guess it's your time to do the
Sweet.
thing.
That ends another episode of the Video Games Club. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe down below, where you can catch up with weekly episodes of the Video Games Club, of Patched, The Insider, Player 2 Plays, and a whole bunch more content, all stuff that can only be found on the Player 2 YouTube channel. Make sure to visit the website, player2.net.au, where you can catch up with all the awesome written content. It is the busiest time of the year for games at the moment. We're churning reviews out left, right, and centre. There's PAX that a couple of us are attending tomorrow, as of when we record this. And there'll be a whole bunch of stuff that's coming up about that, both probably in video and written form. All that stuff you can find at the website.
No.
Twitter, Damo, you're at Tacos Talks.
Thing.
Jay, you don't do Twitter.
Yeah, for now.
Myself, you can find me at Paul James P2, and the website at Player2AU. We can catch up with kind of rolling updates and just links to all the various videos and articles that we put out. Boys, thank you very much for joining me again. And everyone else, thank you very much for watching. What's up? What?
What game are we playing next month, mate?
Next month. Good point. Thank you. Next month, basically inspired by some news that broke last week, as of when we recorded this. The closure of Visceral Games has prompted me to select Dead Space 2 as our game for next month.
Let's do. Yeah, cool.
Oh, you're such a bastard.
Because, I mean, you guys know of my dislike of horror games, but this is not one of those games that falls in that category. I adore Dead Space 2, and I'm keen to talk to you about it.
Fun fact,
I hate you so much.
and it's also on the 360.
Yes.
Why?
So, with that all done, boys, thank you again.
Scary games.
Boys, thank you again for joining me. Viewers / listeners, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Go out.
Yeah, I'll see you in a couple of months because I'm not going to be there to be scared out of my wits' end. Screw you, Paul.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you too, people.